Continue, we begin this page. It says a gimel. It's a continuation of the Kitzurim, written by the Tzemach Tzedek, looks like. It says that Tzemach Tzedek further, וזהו עניין למנצח על השמיניס. Word למנצח is put together, says that Tikunei Zeyar, Tamon Notzach, Tamon Mo. Word lamnatseach is put together from Natseach and Mo because they're connected. Why is Netzach connected with Bris? He says, we know there's Gimel Pirkim. Spheres of Chacham, which is a Rosh Tevis, Chochma, Chesed, and Netzach, are all on the right. Netzach is the lowest level, but it brings down the highest levels because the Gilui of Raiva the Raivin from the Rotzen of all the Tzenes have to only come through Netzach. It brings it down the Mato, and this is also Pshat where it says in the Novis Chaye. The Giluyim come down to Raglov, which is Netzach. And he says in the Maimed that in order there should be the Gilui of this Netzach, you have to have more Lam Natseach. That you have all the 7 levels that are higher than Nehi. They're all revealed through the Bris and Netzach. And Meitzach is also connected. So we know that the forehead Meitzach is Gulgalto, the skull. That covers Amechos Timo. Skull is the Inyan L'mayla Me'aseichel, the skull. This is what it says, Shtei Koch Olo B'machshova. When they were filleting Rabbi Akiva, the angels were saying, how could you let this happen? And the Blemishes said, Shtei Koch Olo B'machshova. It's machshova agduma, it's raiva the whole raivin. Also, Netzach comes from the level of gedula, which is sevela the lo saying cheke, which gedula is known to be chesed, and it's enough of chacham. So the Netzach comes in infinity. Okay. He continues further the Kitzer of Siv Dalet. All right. Kitzer of Siv Dalet. This is what it says in the Mendy, Blemishes, in the Mendy Rabbi. Also brought on the Mendy Rabbi Mishpotim, Moshel von Erev and Yisod, and I want to show Sironi the native, they have the whole shoes. The whole world's the Abish was a shoes, so he doesn't need the Erev. And if you remember, he asked in the Maimon, what is this Negeya? All the other malachas like making rain. And he said the pshat is that the ashpah comes from a level that's higher than the shuyes. So it comes from a higher level than where the olamis are oila to in Shabbos, because Ak is higher than Shabbos, because Shabbos we learn it says our pasuk is poine kodim. It faces kodim. Kodim is much higher, so since the highest olam is from the world comes from this level, over there's no need for Shabbos. That's why Milah that comes also from that level, from Yesod the Ak, is also the Shabbos, Because for this level, the melachos of Shabbos are not called a melacha, because it's higher than the holy union of Shabbos. It's higher than chiluk reshuyos. And he finishes the maimer. This is the kitzur for Hey. This is ala shminis, connecting the 4 letters of Yud-Kei Vov-Kei with the 4 letters of Adne. It becomes a heichal to Shem Havaya. That's where the Kohen Gadol had 8 clothes. He had Dalet Bigdei Loven, which had Achamim. Yud-Kei Vov-Kei, Dalet Bigdei Zod, that come from Adne. Gvuris, because you need both. Also, love it, be the Gil of Shem Havaya Mamish, the Bibel Ikonefed Marecha. The Eibusher will not hide. It'll be a level higher than his Tashlus. So even though normally is Havaya, Psik time of Havaya, there's Yud-Kei Vov-Kei, there's a line between them. Also, love it, Havaya. Higher and say the Stas will be down. Mato, the Bila Matzech, Halashminis, the connection of the 2 levels of Havaya. And this is what will be Mashiach will be Shmeinoni, mean through Milah, through taking away the Mesech HaMavdil. And he says that this is also the union of the 2 Vovin. 2 Vovin are Tiferes and Yesod. What it says in the Rayim the Pashas Kisisa and Osher LeYarbe. Says over there, Osher is Tiferes because it goes till the Keser. This, so it says, Ein Osher el Bedas, because Tiferes and Das are connected. Adal Yamit is Tzadik Yesod. This is Yesif is Yosim Me'ime, because Yesif is Yesod. And Bina, the Kabbalah says, only goes up till Hoid. Shabbos is great, it has Shnei Vovin. It has both Tiferes. And Yesod. Okay. Now we begin a new mimer. It's a very short mimer. Mimer says, Odom ki yebeir b'sori. We learn about the Negoyim. Loshen is Odom. We know that there's 4 names for a person. Odom is the highest madregi shlimu dekulu because he has all the madreges chesed, gvur, and rachamim, and he is connected to the whole world that was connected with 10 spheres. Someone is only in one level, not in the other level, is not a complete Odom. And this is what it says. Meisha, even Meisha Rabbeinu, it says Meisha Isha Likim, because Odom is higher. And he could elevate the whole world and bring the whole world down, and the whole world is connected to him. This person, Davkyan Odom, who's completely fine. And he has Be'er B'Shori in the lowest level on the outside. He has some Ran Pseles, there was Anez. It's not a white from pus. From other thing, it's Anez, that the outside of the skin turned white. Like the Rambam says, this mitzvah of Negoyim is not after Churban Beis Hamikdash, it's not normal that the color should change without pus. But it was a miracle because you're talking about this person. Ruchnis, he fixed everything. He was mevared that after the tay, he has a little pseles. We say further, these Negoyim is a very lofty concept. And you're not Tomei till the Cohen says the word Tomei. And when the Cohen didn't call Tomei, the Negoyim are not Negoyim, they're not Tuma. They're Eirei Shel Yenim, like it says in Eitz Chaim and Arizal. and it's dino kasha digdusha. And you say v'hu vala nakain, that the Cohen picks it up, and he can be mamtik the dinim by saying tohed. And there's no going that the Cohen cannot be mamtik them and they remain tomei. Since this idea of negoim is only by people that are complete in everything and only on the outskirts, there's some negativity that has to be rectified. That's why we don't have negoim today, because we don't have people that only have evil or ra on the chitzenius. Even a good tzaddik, even the big tzaddikim by us after the churban, have some ra in the pnimis. That's why there is no negoim today. Start another maimer, fascinating Gemara. This is a long maimer. The Rebbe explains this amazing secrets of the Torah in this maimer. More in Bob Mitzia. Brings a fascinating Gemara. There's in the Gemara. The yeshiv in Shamayim were arguing. The halacha is like this. It first comes a white patch, and it turned the hair inside from black to white. It's sure coming. If the white was there before, he's an older gentleman, has white hair, and then the baheres comes, it's tohet. If there is a doubt which came first, what's the halacha? Talk to Gemara da Yuvana Machlekes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says tohet. The whole Mesif to the Kia said tomet. So they asked, who could help us with this suffix, with this machlekes? So they said, Neichach Rabbi Bar Nachmani. Rabbi Bar Nachmani is around because Rabbi Bar Nachmani says about himself, Ani yochid b'negoyim, ani yochid b'holes. I could paskin in negoyim. So they asked him the shaila, so he said, Tohir, Tohir. And he passed away by saying Tohir. Says the Gemara Masechtas Nozer, what's the reason that the suffix by negoyim is Tohir? Since the Torah says by Nozer, by negoyim. First Latare, then Latame. So that's why we know that it's Tohir. And this svara of the Gemara is brought down in Harav Shimshon, known as the Rash, in Masechta Negoyim. So we have to understand what's the machlekes, the Eibishter's arguing with the Neshomes, and why did the rabbis say that it's Tohir. And then they agree to the Eibishter. What is this? What's going on here? So the Rebbe begins explaining this amazing Gemara. Understand what's the idea of Tanoim and Amiroim. We understand, we see by them amazing moifsim. Has been yours after the Gemara in Chulin. Had to go somewhere for Pidyon Shvui. And he said, Ginoi nari chalek li mimecha. Ginoi split your waters, and it was split. And you don't make a big deal out of it. But when Moshe Rabbeinu gets together by Kriyas Yamsuf, it was a big nez. And here, still at 8, he went across Ginoi Nora. And the Gemara says about the Amiroim, Zutr the Bechu Mechayim Mesim. The smallest of you could be Mechayim Mesim. And they got through this through learning Torah. The Torah made them Hecher with the Welt. I just heard a nice sikha by Jacobson, brought from the Rebbe. The Rebbe asked by Fabrengen, says that Moshe Rabbeinu showed the Yidden all the behemoths, thousands of animals. How come nobody makes a big deal out of that moifus? Rashi says it, and you go further. But the Rabbi explains because it was connected with Likkutei Torah to teach Yidden Torah. So it's not such a big pella since Torah is balabos from Welt and higher than Welt. There is no pella, there was such a ness. Anyways, Tanoim made big nisim. Goes on further to understand this Gemara, we have to understand some other Akdomish. We have to understand why the Eibishter is called HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to understand what's Mesif to the Rakia, and we could understand the Machlekes. Kodesh, the idea of Kodesh is Kesser. Like it says, Kodesh Yegadol Pera by Nozi. And even though Tiferes is also sometimes called Kodesh in the Gemara, it's because the source of Tiferes is from Kesser. But Kodesh is Kesser. Why is Kesser? Because Kesser says that Tzemach Tzedek is Avoim Tzoi. That's why Tiferes, the Imo is a Kesser, Lezod, the Ksarim are connected. And Tiferes comes a Kesser, Lemalchus, and all Shaykh to Kesser. Says also that Tzemach Tzedek, like we'll see later in this Maimon, and Tiferes has a great light in the Eibishter more than Chesed the Gvura, and he makes his skalus, and this skalus comes from Kesed. Kesed is called Kodesh. Says now we go back to the Alter Rebbe. Kesed is Kodesh because he's higher than Welt. Baruch is Chochmah. Baruch means it comes down. It's the beginning of the Shtalshlus. And Gilui comes out that Kodesh is Seviv Kol Almin, and Baruch is Ramali Kol Almin. That's why they call the Eibishter HaKodesh Baruch Hu, because the Eibishter is Seviv Kol Almin and Ramali Kol Almin. Baruch also has two pirush. Baruch is V'amelech Shleimi, Baruch is blessed. And then Baruch means he benches, he's the source of the brachas. These two pirushim are true. Even though Chochmah is called Baruch, like it says in Priyat Chaim, you say the Abba is Baruch. Sometimes Malchus is called Baruch. So when you say get benched, he's blessed, it's like V'amelech Shleimi Baruch. He receives the brachas. Malchus received the brachas from Chochmah. And Chochmah is called Baruch because he's the source of blessing. This is the Rosh Tevis of Baruch, Reish Umoker Kol Bracha. And it's also like a bracha comes from a swimming pool. It comes into Malchus, all the brachas. And this, with the Lashon Isaiah says, sometimes we say, Ihu Baruch, he is Baruch, which is Malchus, and then sometimes we say, she is Bracha. Sorry, Ihu, he is Baruch, is Chochmah. She is Bracha, is Malchus. But higher than Chochmah, so Baruch could be the Chochmah Malchus. But both Chochmah and Malchus are connected with Malik Kol Almin. Not Seviv Kol Almin, because Seviv Kol Almin is nor Behelen. To do either the air Pnimi and the air Makiv are connected. The air Makiv doesn't come in the Keli, the light is too great, nevertheless. It does something to the Keli, like we know the Losh Air Makiv, Mitzachtzei Achatzei Keli Mibachutz. It refines you, even though it doesn't internalize with you. This is what it also says. Chochmah me'ayin timotzei. Chochmah comes from ayin. Chochmah is gilui. From Chochmah starts ishtalshalos. Bina gets from Chochmah. Bina comes to midas. It's called Baruch. Chochmah from Kesser is me'ayin timotzei. It's higher than say the ishtalshalos is yesh me'ayin. And also he says that Kesser comes from Malchus Dein Sof, which is not pale as Shinui. In the Eibishter, just like the Ziv doesn't pale as Shinui in the Shemesh. There's no difference if the Shemesh lights in a palace or in a garbage dump, because it's higher than the world. Then Tzedek takes a little break to explain. This is what we call the Eibishter HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisave of Kol Almin Hayat and Nishtalshus. That's why we say Kodesh. And that's why we also say the word Moedim. We admit we don't fully understand it, something so much greater than our understanding, and we're Moedim. But in Seder, in Mimale, we say Baruch, we could bless, we could understand it and appreciate it. That's why you say Kodesh and Baruch together, even though they're opposites. But the Seviv has an effect on the Mimale, but it's Behelim. So since it has an effect, you could say HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says this Tzemach Tzedek, maybe you could say, these are the three psukim. We say by Kedusha, Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. And we say Baruch Ved Hashem in Kimei. And Yimlech, Kodesh is Kesed, and it comes from that comes in Koch. And there is Baruch, that it comes to Malch, that it comes to Choch. Kodesh is Kesed. Comes to Choch is Baruch. Comes down to Malchus, it's Yimlech. But in Zeir Arakia and Parsha Bereshis, he says that Yimlech is not the Hamshocha from Chochma to Malchus. But Yimlech is a separate Hamshocha besides Baruch. And the Rebbe that Tzemach Tzedek puts in the note these two levels of Baruch. This is what it says: Poiseach beBaruch, Chesem beBaruch. Every bracha you begin with a baruch and you end with a baruch. The beginning of the baruch is chochma, and the end of the baruch is malchus. After he begins, he explains what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. He will explain tomorrow what's Mesif to the Rakia. Then we could understand how they're talking and arguing, and why everyone said what they said, and why they needed Rabbi Ben Achmeni.